think he fits too with the vibe there in New England. Let's go to Baltimore, where GM Eric DeCosta shared some insight into letting Lamar Jackson in on teams' draft conversations.
Well, Lamar and I have texted a little bit. We had a conversation. We didn't get into any specific players. We talked a little bit about the roster and just what he's up to, and his vision and his excitement for the season and all that stuff that goes into it. But other than that, I think I just probably keep the conversations private.
Swagoo, should the Ravens be looking to help Lamar in round one, or is there a bigger hole to fill?
No chance they should be looking to help Lamar. They should be looking to help this defense, and especially the secondary, maybe at corner or even at safety, at the safety spot, to put someone on side of Kyle Hamilton. Malachi Starks out of Georgia has been mentioned there. That's who Mel had slated there. But this secondary was awful. They made some big plays down the stretch, got better. But ultimately, this defense is what I would see you would bolster, because offensively, they put up 1,000,000 yards by their quarterback, their running back, and they would have had a 1,000-yard receiver, I believe, if Zay Flowers wouldn't have got injured, or maybe he was at 1,000 before he did. So talking to Lamar is great, but talking to the defensive guys is more important.
Yeah, I mean, Lamar, you could argue the defense helps him too in some ways. DJ, you agree with Marcus?
Yeah, I think they've got to go to the defensive side of the ball. I haven't worked in that place. I mean, defense, there's pride in that organization. That was not up to their standard last year, specifically to me in the secondary. So I look at a guy like Max Hairston from Kentucky. If he were to drift down into that range, the Ravens believe in speed, toughness, and instincts. He checks all three of those boxes. In fact, they got a corner last year in Wiggins who ran 4.28. You come back and get Hairston this year who ran 4.28. They might have the fastest pair of corners in the NFL if that were the selection. But the defense has got to be better, and to me it starts there in the secondary.
Yeah, look, I agree. I think the second and third level is where they need to invest. The cornerback position, we saw it live, Laura. It really got decimated. And it got attacked. Let me just say that. It got attacked. And they calmed things down at the end of the year last year. And Zach Orr really went to work on trying to make sure everyone was on the same page. And obviously Kyle Hamilton moving to a true safety position really helped them out. But they need more playmakers on the perimeter. One spot I'd keep an eye on with Baltimore as well is, look, they need another running mate at the second level at the linebacker position. They need a guy, like a guy for me, like a Carson Schlesinger. Let's just throw that name out there, because Mel had mentioned his name quickly, when we were having a little bit of a talk about Baltimore in particular. This is a guy who I think is one of the most instinctive players in the entire draft, regardless of position. And they really could use someone like that on the second level to really patrol that level and make more plays along with people in the secondary. So I think, again, think about that. Second and third level, the defense, I think that's where they go ahead and they target and they attack.
I like it. I don't think Schlesinger is going to make it out of the first round, by the way. Just an incredible story. A guy that goes from being a walk-on to making himself into a first-round draft pick. All right, it is such a treat to have Daniel Jeremiah on today as part of our NFL Network ESPN crossover. Just so fun to talk ball with him. We got a lot more. Night one of the NFL draft in Green Bay. The GMs and coaches have been talking this week, so let's read and react, starting with the team who's currently slated to pick 8th in the first round, the Carolina Panthers. Is Carolina set in stone on making a pick at 8? Well, Lewis will talk about this in moments, but GM Dan Morgan is keeping his options open.
Yeah, I think I said it before, we're not going to box ourselves in. We're going to be open to all possibilities, with that number 8 pick. Like I said, whether it's trading back or whether it's staying there and picking somebody. So we're definitely not going to box ourselves in.
Lewis, what should Carolina do with the 8th pick?
They better box themselves into getting an impact player on the defensive line to rush the passer, Laura, because they were just horrendous as far as their pass rush win rate, horrendous as far as their sacks, horrendous in terms of third down conversions, or rather third down prevention. And they need an impact playmaker. They need somebody like a Jalen Walker, like a Mike Green, maybe even a Shamar Stewart, who you see on your screen, although the production for him this year was not what you really wanted it to be, but the potential is there. Look, they need to get a guy, I believe, along this defensive line that is an impact player, that can affect third down, that can affect crucial situations in 2-minute situations, obvious passing situations. They don't have it. They need it desperately. And I think at the 8th pick, they can address that need without a doubt.
Yeah, Shamar Stewart, interesting. I could see him going as high as 8 or in that range, or then maybe falling all the way to the end of the first. A really talented prospect. Let's go to New England, who holds the number 4 pick in round 1 as they get started under new head coach Mike Vrabel. Here's what Vrabel had to say about what the Patriots are looking for in this year's draft.
I think where we're drafting, there's a handful of guys. We're not in the market for a quarterback, so that ought to eliminate anybody that throws the football. But I do think that there is certainly players that we covet at every level. It's about the player, it's about the person, and most importantly, I think for me, the vision that we have for them and the impact that they're going to make in the locker room and make in the community.
DJ, who do you think New England will take at pick 4?
Well, Laura, my side gig, I do the Charger games, and getting ready for New England last year, I try and highlight the one vulnerable offensive lineman. With that group, I basically just drew a circle around the entire offensive line. They were awful last year, and to me, left tackle is the spot that they have to address in this draft. Ideally, you trade down, but if you're stuck, just stick and pick Will Campbell. He's an upgrade over anyone on your roster at that position.
Love Will Campbell. I think
The NFL Draft is in Green Bay, and we can't wait. The 3-day event begins Thursday, April 24th, and we'll have every pick once again on ESPN, along with our usual expert analysis. It's also available on NFL Network, and as always, ABC's coverage focuses on the prospect's journey to the draft.
Speaking of experts, Christina, it doesn't take the expertise of Mel Kiper Jr. to tell you the Giants are in the market for a quarterback, even after signing Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston. To that end, they held private workouts with some of this year's quarterback draft prospects, Shedeur Sanders, Jalen Milroe, Tyler Shuck. What does Joe Shane say about what's going on in New York about the quarterback? That's new on SportsCenter.
With the signing of those two players, I think we put ourselves in a position where, I don't think that's mandatory or something that we're, our feet to the fire and we have to do. I think the two guys we signed have played a lot of ball. They've got a lot of skins on the wall, and I do think we've upgraded that room, compared to where it was a year ago. I like the two guys that we have, and we'll be open to all options. I mean, those type of strategy sessions have been ongoing and, talking through different scenarios. So, yeah, we're always going to be open to, either or of those scenarios.
Have you received a lot of interest from teams looking to trade up?
We've received some calls. Yeah, we've received some calls.
All right, so you hear him, Mike Tannenbaum, our front office GM here on SportsCenter. I mean, look, we know it's Lion season, it's draft season. They always do that. What did you make of what we just heard from Joe Shane about their quarterback situation in New York?
Matt, it's not good enough. If we were running the New York Giants and had to compete with Jaden Daniels, Jalen Hurts, and Dak Prescott, the two quarterbacks they sign are going to be hard to live up to that standard. What's interesting to me is not that they're doing the private workouts, but the timing of it. If we were running the Giants, we would want to have our plans around the quarterback position for the draft solidified a long time ago. One of the things that my experience tells me is maybe there's a disagreement on who they like or the priority of who they like, and this is a tiebreaker. They want to get a little bit more information. But keep in mind, they've been scouting Shedeur Sanders for 2 years. So the fact that they're out there now, not that they're having a private workout, but the timing of it really is very unusual.
So let me just ask one clarifying question. So you're saying with Shedeur and then the other two prospects, Milroe and Shuck, that they brought in, you're saying there's a disagreement maybe amongst those three quarterbacks and where they take him, or who? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, so for example, Matt, maybe the head coach and GM like quarterback X, but the offensive coordinator and quarterback coach likes quarterback Y. That happens all the time. Candidly, that's a fun part of the process. But by this point, when you're, 8 days away from the draft, usually those tiebreakers have been discussed. They've been fleshed out. You bring players in for the 30 visits. It's unusual to go back out and see a quarterback, especially one that could go in the top 10 like Shedeur, again, only 8 days away from the draft.
Yeah, we'll see if they trade down because they got the veteran quarterbacks this offseason. His teammate, Travis Hunter, he'll get taken early. Yesterday, he told CBS Sports that if a team made him focus on wide receiver or cornerback and not play both, quote, it's never playing football again. Those were his words. If you were a GM drafting Hunter, how would you handle his skill set that's obviously dangerous on both sides of the ball?
Sure. First of all, I would congratulate him on everything he's done. Say, hey, we're in this together. Our initial plan.
An inspiring story has just emerged that's shaking up the NFL world. Saquon Barkley, star of the Philadelphia Eagles, not only had a historic season that ended in a Super Bowl title, but he's also becoming a role model for a new generation of talent. One of the top prospects in the upcoming draft, Ashton Janty, revealed that he sees himself as the next Barkley of the league. And in this video, I'm going to show you all the details of this incredible journey, Barkley's insane stats, and what this inspiration could mean for the future of the Eagles and the NFL. Stick with me until the end because you don't want to miss this. Before we dive into Barkley's influence on Ashton Janty, it's important to highlight something that could change the course of the Eagles for seasons to come: the contract extension Saquon Barkley signed this offseason. This not only ensures the star's presence in Philadelphia for the long term, but also shows the franchise's commitment to keeping its championship core intact. This move reinforces the idea that the Eagles want to build a dynasty around Barkley, giving him not just a leading role, but also long-term stability. And of course, this inspires even more young talents who dream of making it to the NFL. Saquon Barkley's new contract was a strategic move by the Eagles. After racking up over 2,000 rushing yards during the regular season, with 13 touchdowns on the ground and nearly 300 receiving yards with 2 more touchdowns, Barkley proved to be a true offensive engine. And he didn't stop there. He added another 499 yards and 5 touchdowns just in the playoffs. These monster numbers were key to the Super Bowl 59 win over the Chiefs. With that performance, the Eagles front office didn't hesitate and offered Barkley a lucrative, long-term extension, securing his leadership in the offense for years to come. Now I want to hear from you, Eagles fans. With all these impressive numbers, do you believe that Saquon Barkley is currently the best running back in the NFL? Or is there someone you'd rank above him? And more importantly, do you think the Eagles made the right move by heavily investing in his contract extension? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Let us know who you think is the most decisive player in the Eagles offense right now. Remember, your engagement is super important to help our channel grow and to keep bringing you exclusive content. Now that we've talked about Barkley's amazing season and his future with the Eagles, it's time to bring you a revelation that's making waves behind the scenes in the NFL. Barkley's influence is already shaping the mindset of the next generation of stars. One of the top names projected in the next draft, Ashton Janty, opened up and shared something surprising. He not only admires Barkley, he sees himself following the exact same path in the league. A bold, confident statement, and that's exactly what we're going to talk about now. Ashton Janty, a young running back from Boise State and one of the top prospects for the next NFL draft, made it very clear who his biggest inspiration is: Saquon Barkley. In an article published in the Players Tribune, Janty talked about how it felt watching Barkley dominate the playoffs and carry the Eagles to a Super Bowl 59 victory. But what stood out the most was his direct statement: "That could be me." Janty doesn't just admire Barkley, he wants to follow in his footsteps, earn instant respect in the NFL, and be the kind of player who changes the course of a franchise, just like Barkley did with the Eagles. This statement from Ashton Janty might seem like just a motivational quote at first, but it carries much more weight. It shows how Barkley is shaping not only the present of the Eagles but also the future of the NFL. Janty doesn't just want to get drafted, he wants to be the next Barkley, and that could change how teams evaluate him. Franchises looking for an instant playmaker, someone with a winning mentality and hunger for championships, will see Janty in a different light. And it also adds more pressure on him during the draft process. He doesn't want to be just another player, he wants to come in and dominate. And now I want to hear from you. Do you think Ashton Janty really has the potential to be the next Saquon Barkley in the NFL? Do you believe he can impact a franchise the same way Barkley did with the Eagles? Or do you think it's still too early for such big comparisons? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Did you follow Janty's college performances and do you see him as a future star? Don't forget to hit the like button and share this video with other football fans. That's it for now, NFL fans. It's clear that Saquon Barkley didn't just shine with the Eagles, he also became a role model for the next generation. Ashton Janty is just the beginning. Many young players are already looking up to this new idol. And you're going to follow all of it right here. So make sure you subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell, and leave a like so you don't miss any updates on the Eagles, the draft, and the stars of tomorrow. I'll see you in the next video with more exclusive news and analysis from the world of the NFL.